I felt very stuck coming into this. Everything I was doing was a chore. I just had a hard time being happy. Just always thought I was destined to be a glass half empty person, and that really bugged me. I didn't want to be that way.
So, hey, Jen, thanks so much for hopping on our Client Success Spotlight. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks.
You just showed up so well and joyful and present. I was just so proud of how you showed up for yourself, with your wins, with your insight to others, and so I just excited to be able to have this conversation with you. You did a great job. You did a great job. So
thank you. Thank you very much.
Can you tell me, what do you think are some of the biggest successes that you would count as things that really, changed in your life during your time in Joyful and Present?
Yeah, I think probably some of the biggest shifts for me are really around mindset. I've always been, a learner, but I think I felt very stuck coming into this. And so feeling now that I have the freedom to choose and to make decisions about how I want to be, I don't think I fully understood that about myself. I felt like, some of the things that I was dealing with someone who's, easily stressed out and a perfectionist and, critical of others, critical of self. I just thought this is how I am. And even knowing, some of the practices that we talk about in Joyful and Present, and knowing and being fascinated by things like neuroplasticity, I didn't make the connection before this that those were the things that could help me get unstuck from the way I was feeling and being, I guess.
That's great. So can you tell me, what was stuck? What did stuck look like? I know you mentioned self-critical, critical of others, but how is that impacting your daily life, and what made you decide you needed to do something different or wanted to do something different?
Yeah, I think, I am very blessed in my life. And yet I think most days I felt like everything I was doing was a chore. I just had a hard time being happy. Not that I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I just felt very limited in just being able to enjoy my life, which, was a really good life. And so again, it was a lot about just kind of a lot of stinking thinking and just kind of swirling thoughts, some anxiety, and, all of that together just made every day feel really hard for me, and I didn't like the way I was showing up to my family. And so, yeah, I think those were some of the main things that I saw that, that led me to this and made me decide that this was going to be something that I was going to do, and that I was going to make sure that that I got unstuck.
Well, I'm really glad you took action. Do you remember any hesitation that you had or what might have held you back?
I mean, I think at the time that this program came up for me, I was ready to say yes. So I have kind of reflected on, what was it about that timing? And I haven't completely put my finger on it, but I think, to a certain extent, I found this program right when I was kind of just ready to say, to a certain extent, I'll try anything, so I had been thinking too, do I go back to counseling, which I had done before. And then, when I learned more about this program, everything that I read and saw about it, I just thought, okay, this is me. This is describing me. And the idea of having, kind of a practical plan and someone to kind of walk me through that transformation was really helpful. I didn't want to just talk about what I was struggling with. I wanted to change. And so, yeah, I think it was just kind of right thing at the right time for me.
I'm really glad that you ended up in our program at the right time. In terms of because, I've been a therapist for many years too, and so I'm familiar with that. Probably many people have had counseling. How would you compare the change that happened in the program compared to maybe what, when you were deciding, should you said, I was deciding, should I go back to counseling again or should I do something different? What made you decide that you were ready to do something different, and why us?
Yeah. Um, I think deep down I knew that talking about my issues more was not going to fix them. Not that there's not value in that, and I have gotten value from that, but I have a really good support network. I have great family. I have great friends. I have a great church community. And so, not having people to talk through things with was not really my issue. I needed, like I said, I kind of needed a plan of, help me put these pieces together to really make a change in my life. And so that was kind of what drew me to this, because it felt more action oriented, I guess.
Okay, good. And you're someone who showed up and took a lot of action, didn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I love about this is like you are really the hero. Each woman that goes through and that does and that implements, they're the hero of their own story because they took the information and had a plan, but you have to show up and implement, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that was a commitment that I made too to myself early on was, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything that Rochelle asks us to do and really make sure that I get the most out of it. And that definitely helped, I think, with me having success.
Yeah. So, what else? What is different now? You mentioned earlier, like trusting yourself with decisions. Is there anything else like that's different during your day in terms of how you move about your day with your family or in your career that's different now as opposed to before?
Yeah, I would say I have just in general a more positive outlook. Before this, just always thought I was destined to be a glass half empty person, and that really bugged me. I didn't want to be that way. And, still working through kind of, rewiring a little bit. But for the most part, even sometimes I feel like I annoy my kids because they'll bring something, negative to me, and I'll be the one to kind of try to put a positive spin on it, and it probably drives them sort of crazy. But I'm able to more naturally find kind of the glass half full side of looking at situations. And that makes everything so much better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love that. I mean, it is a change for your kids, and I love when you said naturally do it because I think that's a different than a lot of times what people want or encouraged to do is just slap a positive affirmation on top of not feeling good, and it doesn't feel true.
Right.
They naturally feel better and more positive about things. That's like a
Yeah.
core deep change rather than just trying to be incongruent with positive
Hmm.
affirmations that don't feel true.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Good.
Anything that you would say to anybody who maybe was like you, wanting the results that you have, or feeling overwhelmed, but skeptical or fearful of moving forward? Any advice you would give to anyone else?
Yeah. My advice is just to do it and to try it and to make that decision to make a change. I think that for me has been the biggest difference maker. Is I wake up every day and I remember that I get to choose, and that was something that I didn't. So I feel so much more empowered now, and when I see other people who are struggling with some of the same things that sometimes I still struggle with, definitely. I hear, some of the modules from this program in my head too, like, oh, if only they could do this and if only they could do that. And, I think just the way that you have put this program together is so, I don't know, it's not easy, but it is like having someone come alongside you in your healing journey. And, I think we could all use that. So I think there's probably most people who are in my age and stage of life could benefit from this in some form or another.
Yeah, I think most ages and stages, but and you really took advantage. Not every, I mean, some people just move through the curriculum. You really took advantage of the support and community too. Did that? What benefit did you find from that?
Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing for me because I'm not normally someone who is very transparent and vulnerable. I grew up in a Scandinavian Midwestern family that didn't talk a lot about feelings and that sort of thing. And so it was a big step of courage, I would say, for me to show up and to speak up. But again, it was kind of something that when I started this, I just made the decision that I'm going to do this and I'm going to speak up about my struggles. And certainly every time I did that, I walked away from our calls feeling encouraged and empowered. And yeah, I think that made a huge difference, was just being willing to show up. I had consumed so much information over the years that I just knew that I needed to fully engage in this to get the benefit out of it. So there was a lot of motivation for me in that.
Well, congratulations to you, and I feel blessed to have gotten to be the one who got to experience you in the program and have you land in Joyful and Present. We've all enjoyed having you and just love celebrating your wins. And so thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for putting this community together and this program together. It's such everybody, not only on your team, but everybody who I've, encountered as a part of this program has been just an amazing group of women and so supportive and like-minded in so many ways. It's really been a lot of encouragement. So
Thank you. I know
thank
we
you.
have the best community, I will say, and I'm blessed by great staff. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love serving women like you. So thanks for sharing, Jen. And I'm really, really happy for you and your family. And
Thank you.
it, so
Awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate it all.
okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.